two is something that you're going to have to do every day is eat properly. So what's eating properly? Like, listen, we're not going to sit here and talk to 14-year-olds like you need to have X amount of, like, go through all your macronutrients and micronutrients and be real specific about things. But I want it to be very simple. Just pay attention to what you're eating and ask yourself, maybe a couple questions, because eating is mostly an emotional thing. I took that in a nutrition course that I took. It was the first things we talked about was how do you feel? What do you think about why are you eating? And I thought it was kind of stupid at first. I'm like, what is kind of stupid course is this? I paid a lot of money for this. But the thing is that when you ask those questions, why did you have a beer on Friday night? Well, I used to have a beer on Friday night because it was Friday. That's why. So work's done, kind of. It's never done for me, but work's done Friday night. You have a beer on Friday night. So one beer turns into 3. Well, why? And when you answer the question, it's because it's Friday. It's a dumb reason. Mm-hmm. and people have pizza nights on Friday. Why? Because it's Friday, or it's pizza night, or it's Taco Tuesday. It's just because it is.
Things that don't make sense.
Right. But so when we start questioning what we eat and when we eat, so a lot of times you'll be sitting at home and you say, you go to the cupboards or the fridge and you grab something and you eat. And if you ask yourself, why am I eating? Probably one of the answers is because it's not because you're hungry. It's because I'm bored or emotional. So if you're emotional, you go to food or booze or something that you go and eat because it gives you some satisfaction. So that's number one is, ask yourself, why am I eating? And number two is kind of ask yourself, is this actually, what's this going to do if I eat this? So what I'm talking about is nutritional value. So basically, when you're looking at protein, you need to have a sufficient amount of protein in your body. So like basically as a hockey player, you want to get, if you look at the palm of your hand, let's keep it really simple. Yeah. You want to eat 3-4 pieces of the palm of your hand, size of your palm of your hand of protein. What is protein? Protein comes from something that had eyes before. That's pretty simple, right? If it can run, if it could fly, if it could swim, it was a protein. And if it came from something from that, it's a protein. If it's been packaged a whole bunch of times, it's not very good for you. But if it hasn't, then it's good for you. You can eat that. The other thing is your carbohydrates. You're gonna have to eat some of that. I'd like to see people eat most of their carbohydrates through healthy fruits and vegetables. It's not processed. You can measure it, and then you get some fats. Fats are like your oils and butters and coconut oils and nuts. Those are the things that you want to take a look at. But it doesn't have to be real complicated. Eating, when it comes down to eating, if it's processed, so a lot of people would think, okay, well, I could get a veggie sandwich from Subway. It's not good because it's like the bread is processed. It's all sugar. The meat has been proven that's not meat. It's just a bunch of fillers and soy and a bunch of junk. Yeah. So you want to have food that is actually real food and eat plenty and often of things that are fruits, vegetables, and protein. That should be the bulk of your food. Will you have pizza? Of course you will because you're a kid and it's fine. Will you have cake and pie and all that stuff once in a while? Yes, but you just want to limit that. The next most important, or as most important as all that stuff, is you need to drink a lot of water. Get used to the taste of water, or throw some, like this is a veggie drink. It's what is it? Veggie
Athletic greens.
Athletic greens.
Yeah.
We do BioSteel and amino acids in our drinks to make it flavorful sometimes, but really we don't. And I drink coffee as an adult. But get used to water because it's 90% of your body. Maybe I think it's a little bit more. You have to be hydrated. So if you're sleeping hydrated and well fed, you're healthy. Drinking the pops, the chocolate milks, and all that stuff. Well, the secret killer now to me is parents start their kids off on the wrong foot, man. You see in the morning, grabbing a coffee in the morning, you see a lineup when school's out. When school's in, there's a lineup before school starts around Tim Hortons, Canada's Tim Hortons, Starbucks, whatever these places are. And they're buying stuff like cappuccinos and frappuccinos, and you can't pronounce the names, and it's all sugar.
A 700-calorie drink, man.
Right, so Charlie started, he wanted to try iced coffee. He heard they were pretty good at iced coffee. So what's an iced coffee? It's a coffee in ice, Dad. I said, that's all? Yeah. So grab one, sure. You want one? Like, I don't want you on caffeinated all or whatever. Yeah. So he had a couple, and I said, let me taste it.
That's looking pretty light.
Yeah, so I tasted. I go, that's not just coffee, dude.
Yeah.
So, but he's a kid, doesn't know. It's coffee, or whatever. He doesn't thinking about calorie count. Yeah. So I looked. I said, look it up, or we looked at the menu, and it was 180 calories for a medium-sized iced coffee.
Yeah.
Because there's shit in it.
Yeah.
And these are the hidden things that are like, so kids have started off on the wrong path, and I just see it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That they go to school, and instead of making lunch at home, which is so simple and so cheap, it's Tim Hortons or it's the little diners and stuff like that where it costs a fortune and you're eating nothing but garbage. So a simple thing like eating food from home, understanding what you're eating, goes a long, long, long way.
Well,
Could you talk about food for a while?
Well, a couple things on that. Like, so the first, well, I don't know which I want to go for. Well, maybe we'll say this. So they're kids, right? And I did a little talk with some of the guys that we work out with last week on the weekend or whatever. And I gave them a decent amount of like technical information, like you're talking about, like macronutrient stuff, like where it all comes from, why you need to eat carbohydrates, why you need to eat protein, where does fat play into this, whatever, hydration. And because I want them to know the reason why they're being told you need to eat carbohydrates, like for performance, like what are the reasons, all this. And again, it's not to say that you need to go buy a food scale and weigh all your food and be a crazy person, right? If you're into that, hey, it's good for you. But most kids aren't, and they don't want to do that because they're kids and they don't care. So the same thing like we were talking about with little habits, it's just making upgraded choices, right? Try to create an environment where the good thing to eat is the easy thing to eat, right? So the good choice is the easy choice. That's the only way this works, right? Because if it's in the house, especially as an athlete, you're always hungry. You just want to eat all the time.
Yes.
You're going to eat whatever's there, right? So creating a good eating environment. The issue that most kids are going to have, you're talking about eating at home, making food at home and all this stuff, is the parents.
Yep.
So I know we're going to do another talk on this later when we're talking about this topic specifically, but for the parents out there and for the kids, like something that they can do is it's tough because you're a kid, and to have the maturity to do this, I know it's hard, but sitting and talking to your parents about it and being like, hey, like I need to make sure that I'm eating properly. Even if you don't really know what that means, just having the conversation, like I need to make sure I'm eating properly. Like, can we try to make some better choices when you guys are doing grocery? Because the kids aren't buying their own food. They're not going to the grocery store. They don't have a lot of control over.
There's almost zero control.
Yeah, right, over what's in the house. So
Eat it.
Exactly, right? So one of the things that they can do, and again, I know it's tough because you're young, is to have the conversation with your parents. Like I need to eat a certain way because I want to perform a certain way. Yeah. Like, what can we do? Can we do something about this? Like, can we try when we go shopping? Can we look for some better things or whatever? And just bring attention to it. That's a good first step, right? And then from the parent side of it is you need to understand that if your kid wants to be an athlete, then there's a certain way that they need to eat, right? And you might not like that way, right? But the bottom line is it's better for them, but it's better for you too.
Yeah.
You know? So that's something that you can start to pay attention to. And you know, the way that I wrapped up my talk with them is I was saying just that. I know you don't have a lot of control over this, but do the things that you can do, make the upgraded choices you can make, have those conversations with your parents and try to get it set up so it's a little bit easier. You know, you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to eat like a freaking robot and be a machine when you're 15 and just want to go hang out with your buddies or whatever. But doing those things to make those first steps, that's what's important.
Yeah, it's huge. One thing that we went through with my wife is I said, I was explaining to her how when I'm most dialed in is I have a way to eat. And the way I eat is I have my food separate. It sounds weird. It's not a weird thing. I have to have my food in order for me to measure it and to be on point and to know how much I've eaten and to know that I've eaten healthy by eating my protein. So for a while we were making a lot of rice bowls, like, you know, Chipotle.
Yeah.
We make our own homemade
like the energy bowls.
Yeah, energy bowls and stuff. And they're delicious. And I like stir fries and stuff like that. Like, it's delicious. But the problem with it is I found that it's hard to measure. And for me, coming from a household where it's like, you better eat or else, because that's all there is, and we rush to eat and, you know, stuff our face. Yep. So I had to learn how to eat properly, you know, in my early 20s. So I have to have it. So like if I'm having, let me go back to the rice bowl. So we were for a while, because they're so good and easy to make, and it's all healthy, but I was overeating because I'd take a big bowl of, you know, the meat, rice or veggies or whatever it is you're putting in there is all in one bowl. So you pile it in there and you have no idea what you can only guess. And if you're guessing, you have no idea how much you've eaten. Yeah. So I had to ask my wife, like, let's really focus on changing it and keeping meals really simple. So what we did and it just works so much better for me. Take meat, you make your veggies, and a starch if you need it, or a salad if you need it, and it's separate. It's not. I'm not the guy that you can't touch his food. I'm just saying I like to know 1, 2, 3, and I can control my portions that way. Right. So I know I look at my plate and I got that much meat, okay, and then it's also a habit to say, okay, I need more. No, don't worry about it. Just have a palm full of protein. Have so maybe a sweet potato or whatever it is, and a salad and your veggies over here. If you do that, 100%, and you'll be full, and you'll be satisfied, and it's healthy, guaranteed. You can't go wrong with that shit.
Well, with food especially, the more complicated the dish is, the more you don't know what you're eating, right?
Well, add the sauce.
Right?
You don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah, and like you said, so you keep things separate so that you can actually visually see how much is on it. So if you're, like I said, you're a kid, you gave the palm measurement as a thing. So if you have, I was saying this to you earlier, if you have a piece of chicken that's the size of your palm, it's probably 6 to 8 ounces. You're getting 40 to 50 grams of protein. Yeah. Great. So you got the piece of chicken on your plate. You know that. Yeah. If it's chopped up, mixed with rice and veggies and all this stuff, now you don't know, am I overeating rice and undereating protein? And it's not that you need to track it precisely, but you want to be in the ballpark so that you know you're eating properly, right? Especially for performance. It's really, really important. Like if you're not eating properly, that was one of the biggest downfalls for me is I didn't know when to eat certain things or what to eat around performance. I had no idea. No one told me.
Yeah, most people don't.
Right? Yeah, so
Dalton said a really good thing the other day. Because he looked at me, he goes like, and you're like this. You said the same thing. He said, you don't, when you talk, because you're talking to your family about it, when you talk about eating and fitness, you don't want to sound like you're preachy.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't either.
Huge problem, yeah.
But the difference is, like Dalton said it, he goes, Andy, when you grew up, you didn't have the wealth of information that we have. Because if you actually can't care about nutrition to not know about it now. Yeah. He goes, but the younger generation will look at the older generation and actually tell them how to eat and how to exercise, but there's just a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. And you're right. Like when I grew up in the 80s, you just ate. Yeah. I mean, you knew some things that were healthy, but it didn't matter. And the rules changed. There was the pyramid, the food pyramid. It was freaking backwards, by the way. I would never eat like that in a day of my life, unless I was choosing to gain 40 pounds.
Well, that's why everyone's, having a weight problem. Everyone's got metabolic dysfunction in North America now.
100%, man. It's unreal. Yeah. But anyways, it's about keeping it simple. But the point of this is daily habits. Be mindful of what you're eating. Eat as much as you can that is good, wholesome, whole food that hasn't been packaged. And if you do 90% of your eating and just pay attention to that, then you're on the right track.
Yeah. Before you go to the next one, the one thing that the rule of thumb kind of that I gave them, or it's more like a philosophy, like your nutritional philosophy should be, you want to eat single ingredient whole foods as consistently as possible. Yeah, that's basically the frame, especially as an athlete. If you're an athlete, that's for anyone, but especially for an athlete. If you want to perform, that is the philosophy. And single ingredient, pretty straightforward. It doesn't have a bunch of crap in it. If there's an ingredient label on it, probably not the best, right? Whole foods.
Or if you're eating something and the actual thing you're eating is about fourth on the ingredients, that's bad.
Yeah, right? If there's more than 5 ingredients, that's one thing. And if the main reason you're eating the food isn't until number 4 on the ingredient label, not great, right? So that's one thing. And then whole foods, that's another straightforward thing. Like
egg.
Yeah, did it come
chicken?
Yeah, did it come from the ground?
Yeah, a donut is
do you recognize what it was originally? Yeah. Right? And if you can do that, then that's probably one of the better choices that you can make, right? Yeah. And that is the nutritional philosophy. Single ingredient whole foods as consistently as possible.
Gatorade is not doesn't grow on trees.
No.
Granola bars do not grow on trees. Like it's processed.
Yeah, and it is tricky too. Like this is another thing. Just before we move on.
No, it's okay. When you talk all day about this.
When you go grocery, this is actually a good thing that kids could do. Like go grocery shopping with mom and dad a couple times, right? Go through the aisles and actually see what they're buying. Take a look, like take an interest. Look at the ingredients of what you're getting, right? Because the labels especially are tricky. Like however many grams of protein, low fat. Whatever, right? Yeah. Energy bar, like all these flashy colors and words and whatever. Just because it says something on the label doesn't mean that it is what it is, right? Yeah. If there's a label in general, it's probably not the best thing to be eating, right? So that's another good thing that you could do is actually like take an interest in what you're consuming and look at it. What is this? Like, what am I actually eating, right?
Well, another thing, we'll just keep milking this.
Oh,
Beat this horse to
one of my
death.
favorite things to
Beating
talk
a dead
about.
horse here. Real valuable. Charlie started taking interest in eating in cooking.
Yeah.
What was the first? He made a stuffed chicken. The first one that he did. So he started doing this about 3-4 months ago. So he made a stuffed chicken. I think I showed you the pictures, and you and Dalton. It was impressive. Like, he came up with ideas, and he's learning how to cook. So he's done that. He's made homemade burgers. He's made chicken parm. He made amazing salmon last week. But he does all the things, and he's got to think about the nutrition and all that kind of stuff. This is not. We didn't encourage it at all. He just him and his girlfriend one day wanted to start cooking for us. Beautiful. The only problem is he doesn't know what the dollar amount is. Yeah. So like, Christine goes, "What are you making next week?" He goes, "Oh, steak." Yeah. He probably wants a T-bone or something.
Yeah.
Like, it was
$150.
Christine's like, okay, you don't really understand the dollar value yet, but wait, hey, we're making process.
But the thing with that though, we're talking about taking interest in cooking. So one of the first things I really needed to learn when I moved away, my first billet house, was how to cook. And not talking bad about my billets, they were awesome people, but they didn't eat like athletes, right?
Who does?
And so the amount of time, like, I was on the phone all the time. My mom, phenomenal cook. Yeah. I was on the phone with my mom a couple times a week. How to use the oven, how to use these appliances, what temperature, how do I make this thing that you made before, whatever. And like, what a tool, because you're in your kitchen now, and you can actually be in control of what you're eating. You actually can make things now, right? Which is huge, and you're probably gonna have to learn it anyways.
Well, the thing, like, Dalton talks about it all the time. Moving away, he goes, you had to get resourceful, because like, you always think about hockey players making $5 million a year. Those are only some of the guys.
Yeah.
When you're playing pro, it doesn't mean you're playing in the NHL. You could be playing in the American League. And when you're playing in the American League, take a zero off your paycheck. Take a zero off your paycheck and pay some taxes. You're living like a normal dude. So you're not going out having steak and stuff every night, because you can't afford it. So you have to be resourceful. And Dalton was saying at that one point, when he was in Springfield or whatever, his first year as a pro, he ate a lot of eggs. He found a lot of ways to make eggs and stuff, but you have to do it yourself. So yeah, like, just another tool. Like, if you think your kid, or if you think you're ready to move away, what if you go to a billet? Like, you go to a billet, you might have a billet that cooks perfect for you. God, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Well, and the other thing I want to highlight too that you said though is now the access to information. Yeah. You can Google. I don't care if you're 12 or 40. You can Google at any time, how do I make this? Yeah. And it will tell you step by step. Yeah. Oven at this temperature. This is how you prepare the meat. This is how you prepare the veggies. This is how long it takes. Here you go. Here's your spices. Here's whatever. Like, it's not, and it's I can completely understand it could be intimidating if you've never used the oven. How to use the oven, how to use the stove. I get that, but it spells it out. Try it. You know what I mean?
And to go along with being a hockey player though, so all these things that we're talking about: sleep, eat properly, cook. These are things that, you know what the one thing they aren't? Lazy. Yeah. It takes actual effort. It's so much easier if you have a few bucks in your pocket, just go get something, or to let someone do something for you, or to fluff it off. So all these things are little habits. These little habits that make you better. And as you move forward, the pressure gets higher. The circumstance, people don't care about you anymore. Circumstances get tougher. You better know how to take care of yourself. Yep. So so that was a default thing. It's not because we're good parents and I'm a good coach and I recognize that my son would get a good, valuable lesson in learning how to cook properly. He took a liking to it, and I actually learned how valuable it is for him. Yep. Because, hey, in a year from now, he could be living with someone can't cook, cooks like shit. Yeah. Gives him $5 to, like, maybe he's gonna have to go buy eggs and make something instead of, don't know what's gonna happen. So it's better to cover all your bases, because at the end of the day, you want to cover as many bases as you can, and if you don't know what bases that you need to cover, when they come up, you're able to deal with them. Yep. Because the last thing you want to do is sit there and starve, or sit there and I don't know how to do laundry, or my dad didn't take me to the gym, so I don't know what to do. I don't know. My mom, you never got me up in time, so I slept in. It's not no one's problem. It's your freaking problem now. Yeah. Right? There's no one's gonna baby you and hold your hand and take you everywhere. Like, you have to figure it out. So it's a harsh reality, but whatever. Yeah. It's the same with like the last thing with food is, like, sometimes it doesn't taste good. Who cares? You'll get used to it. Just eat it. If you have to put ketchup and all the shit on it.
It ends up tasting good, though. That's the thing. After a while, when you're used to eating everything's salt and
Yeah.
sugar and butter and
Yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah, it's not gonna taste the same as a freaking cookie, man.
Yeah.
But after a while, it starts to taste good because you feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
ends up being the difference.
Yeah.
Is you feel much better eating this way, so it tastes better, and your body wants that.